Well, it's time for the Bruins to prove themselves yet again as they take on the Wisconsin Badgers for the second time now in the Big Ten Tournament.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever it's your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Are you ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert. Well, I'll be your expert today, talking about a mini preview of UCLA versus Wisconsin Big Ten Tournament. The Big Ten Tournament opener for the Bruins. Wisconsin dispatched the Northwestern Wildcats, ending Northwestern's season yesterday, at least in terms of an NCAA Tournament berth. What does UCLA get? They have a chance for a quad one neutral site win to compile what was a strong win against Wisconsin. That win against Wisconsin earlier in the Big Ten season pretty much revitalized our hopes in this UCLA season. Gave us something we didn't know what the Bruins had, which was Aday Mara. So now that it's culminating near the end of the year, a run into March Madness, how do the Bruins balance needing to win to improve their seeding with all sorts of crazy things happening in conference tournaments, another signature win, while also maintaining health and maintaining rest and recovery while still not getting blown out off the floor, all right? So we remember what this game brought us a couple months ago. UCLA, Wisconsin. This was an 85-83 final in Pauley Pavilion, a game where UCLA barely got to 500 in Big Ten play. They were 13-6, 4-4, and UCLA's done a lot better things since, right? They're 4-4 then, UCLA 13-6. Since that game against Wisconsin, UCLA went to 9-3 overall, and then after that, UCLA went to 9-3 in conference play, obviously, with all those being Big Ten games. So they finished in the top four. After being under 500 and having to crawl their way back, they finished as a 4 seed in the Big Ten. Let's tell you about that journey now, what it means. Well, UCLA, they win today. They get to the semis. That's another signature win to boost their resume, which would be their 10th quad one win. And at the time, I talked about it like last week, leading up to the Big Ten regular season finales, that not many teams have that many quad one wins heading into conference tournament weekend. Now you'll see the Texases of the world being Texas A&M in the SEC tournament. You'll see teams starting to get 8-9 wins. UCLA in the regular season, which I'm not including conference tournaments, UCLA had 9. That was third most in the country, right? And a long tie for third most. That's behind the likes of Auburn, the number 2, who I forgot the time. But UCLA, through the regular season, has a lot of good wins. Now they had some very puzzling losses, but the Bruins have been able to redeem themselves with strong wins through a long travel that hopefully with the win can put them in the West bracket, all right? At least in the first round, hopefully for 2 rounds, or maybe they can return home to the West Regional after an extended stay in the Midwest. Mick Cronin hasn't decided if they get to Sunday, are they flying west to go back east across the country? A lot of things to be decided. Is this a game UCLA wants to win? Those are all things we'll have to figure out in this game. Large in part, we'll see if that win against Wisconsin was a slight fluke. The Badgers, last time the Bruins played them, shot 15 of 30 from deep. They hit 18 of their 21 free throws. In this game, Wisconsin shot 50% from the field, 51% from the field, 50% from 3, 85% from the line. In any way of basketball, you're generally winning that game. Well, despite Wisconsin's 2 7-footers, despite their ability with their elite point guard, their elite guard play, and their shooting transformation over the last 2 seasons into great guard, Mick Cronin's usual lack of offensive stability came out in the wrong way. What does that mean? It came out where that wasn't the story, because UCLA put up 85. You had Bilodeau shooting the ball well with 18 points. You had Sky Clark, Dylan Andrews. Sebastian Mack had 19 points and 7 of 7 shooting from Aday Mara. So what we can see is this a game where Cronin's going to go small? It'll tell us a lot. If Cronin starts Mata, then we might see this in the NCAA tournament. Or if he comes off the bench, there's no chance Mata starts in the future, regardless of the matchup, regardless of the size. If UCLA has a rematch against teams in the NCAA tournament, if they play teams bigger, we'll know from the starting lineup how this game is going to start, which was Wisconsin blitz early on, or is it UCLA proving they don't need to change much, but they can adjust on the fly? Now, we know Aday Mara is no longer the secret weapon. He's going to come out. If he can feast, and in this game against Wisconsin, part of the reasons he did so well was he made a lot of his free throws. He had 5 rebounds. He had a couple blocks. He was really, really good. At the end of the season, there were ways that Mara started to keep getting better. His finesse near the baseline, his ability to pass, his almost all of a sudden he can dunk it over people. This was one of the best free throw shooting days. But Mara in this game went 7 of 7 and was one of those games where he played 20 or more minutes. Now the question for Cronin is he going to put Aday Mara out there to play 20 minutes? Do you want to build up his stamina when you're going to lean on him in the NCAA tournament and not cost you your national championship, your Final Four, your second weekend chances? Is this a game to build up stamina? Or do you rest him and then slowly build that up to next Thursday, next Friday, when your NCAA tournament will begin? Those are all things Cronin's wrestling with, where it's like, we're all going to want him to play a lot of minutes, Aday Mara, in this game. He should play a lot of minutes, but is that the most beneficial? Is that building him up? Or is that leaving him out there for a game that in reality won't cost UCLA a lot if they lose, and it can only benefit them if they win? Another thing, players who have been playing well for Wisconsin in this matchup, you got to look at Nolan Winter, who played really well in the game against Northwestern the other day. Had 18 points, was really good from the free throw line, was a dominant 7-footer. Then there's Steven Crowell, another 7-footer for Wisconsin. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. That's what he did against UCLA. So the Wisconsin lineup, you think about it, this is similar to what Michigan trots out there. 2 7-footers, players who can play big. The only difference between what Crowell and Winter bring is that Danny Wolf's a point guard. So he's a unique matchup for anybody in the country, and UCLA just doesn't have a 7-foot guard to guard a big guard like that from Michigan. Wisconsin, Cronin already believes Mara's a good matchup from their size, from maybe just being more finesse bigs, and Mara being more back to the basket at this point. As much as he goes to the wing, could we see another 20 and 10 day from Mara in 15 minutes? We know when UCLA plays in more than 20, the Bruins are 6-0. So the question is, how long does Cronin give runtime? What does he utilize matchup-wise that he wouldn't use in the NCAA tournament, but he will to protect his players while keeping that one-and-done mentality in line going forward? Because you win, you keep going for better, you're not going to have that 6-11 matchup in the first round. You can get yourself a 5-12, a 4-13, and then you get 2 weekends on the West Coast if you go from the first weekend to the second weekend and not have to play a tough 3 seed. All right, you go from being a favorite maybe in one game to a favorite into your first 2 or 3 games of the NCAA tournament just by maybe winning this game or another. That's how this can all change. But does that help with the travel and the recovery? Or would you rather just get home, hope the committee throws you a bone, and you don't have to go across the country for a billionth time? All right. And we'll learn, is Wisconsin really wanting this win? Did they feel that they were ripped off by going to UCLA and losing that game when they shot really well, scored 83 points, and the Bruins did whatever they wanted still to come back in that game, which the Bruins trailed by 5 at the break? Okay, so things to look at for the bigs. How does UCLA's backcourt work? And can they stop the Wisconsin three-point shooting? Because Wisconsin lives and breathes by shooting the 3. In their wins, they shoot close to 40% from 3. In their losses, they shoot less than usually 30%. The UCLA game was an exception. Now, the funny thing is, Wisconsin didn't shoot all too well against Northwestern in that first Big Ten game for them. On back-to-back, does that mean they're fresher, they're looser, they're ready to go, and that leads to a March tournament run, a March Big Ten tournament run for Wisconsin? Good. We've seen underdogs, not necessarily UCLA or Wisconsin, but underdogs in conference tournaments go on long runs before. That happens. But I want UCLA to have a good defensive effort. If Wisconsin scores 80-plus again, I'd be a little concerned, although they're really, really, really good offensively, like really good. Now, if Wisconsin scores a lot and UCLA scores a lot, then we know it's a balanced matchup where Wisconsin's strength is a little bit better than UCLA's strength, but Wisconsin's weakness can play well to UCLA doing whatever they want offensively. So if it's another 80-80 type game, 81-80, whatever it might be, Not sure that's the most comfortable for UCLA, but hey, we know Monarch can feast on it, and I'd love to see him do it again. So can they defend the three? Can Cronin throw out something that throws the Badgers out of rhythm? Can the backcourt step up? And what will the battle of the bigs be? Because Wisconsin's got 2 7-footers. And Mata alone off the bench ate him for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a late night snack last time. Can that happen again? Or is Greg Gard going to change it up? This will tell us a lot about how UCLA will move forward in the NCAA tournament against other bigs, what their strength is, if they have to rematch against Michigan later in the NCAA tournament, if teams like New Mexico, who are big all the way around in their starting lineup, is UCLA better prepared, more equipped to go out there and get a win? We'll find out. We're going to react to this game afterwards as well, but those are some mini tidbits to look for. Wisconsin scores and they shoot the three. UCLA plays good defense, shoots the three better than they did last year, but we're not really wanting to get into an 85-83 game on a neutral site that doesn't involve overtime. That's not what UCLA wants and is designed for. They can maybe win that game, but twice against the same team, I think would not be good. So I like this game to be played at a much slower, lower scoring pace, and I think that would favor UCLA. If it's a higher scoring game, and if Cronin's doing some weird sub patterns, it means he's saving his guys for the tournament and he's going to take the L. Not, by the way, initially, but depending if you're seeing like 15 minutes from Trent Perry, let that be a sign. If we're seeing guys get extended run time that we wouldn't probably before, okay. But it's the balance Cronin's trying to do, where if they lose it, the season's not over. If they lose it, depending on how they lose it, as long as they're healthy, we've seen UCLA back into the NCAA tournament before, and they still get to a Sweet 16, still get to a Final Four with Mick Cronin's teams, because that's what he cares about. Not this weekend, next weekend. Just the weird, delicate balance that this weekend will help them so much more for next weekend, but what's the cost-benefit analysis? Today, I think you go for the win. The semis, you just kind of mess around. But we'll find out later. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, you can lose track pretty easily. I do that. I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. But then Monarch Money comes in. That's your personal CFO. You can get full visibility and control over your finances, because Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's complete financial command center. Tracks all your accounts, investments, and spending in just one place, so you can stop managing your money and building wealth. Starting using Monarch, you can realize how much you're spending on that food delivery. What? All those upcharges? Yeah. And then wait, with the easy collaboration, managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. Shared and personal accounts, setting goals, and staying on the same page without that extra stress, all with Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. After thinking all about that, now I'm hungry. And eating healthy doesn't have to be complicated. With Factor, you get those chef-made, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to eat and heat in just 2 minutes. You can fuel your body without the hassle of cooking. The Factor meals, they arrive fresh, never frozen. Over 40 options and dietary preferences. Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, you name it, they got it. Convenience meets nutrition. I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I'm hungry. I'm always on the go. I'm doing a little coaching, a little podcasting, a little broadcasting, I do it everything. I'm like, man, I need something to eat. Go over there and heat it up. It's a good portion of food. It's tasty food, different options. So I'm not just eating the same thing every day, which sometimes I have the struggle of doing if I'm not eating a Factor meal. And it's good, healthy for me. They got smoothies, breakfast, snacks. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use the code FactorPodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off free shipping. Let's not forget about those taxes, because this is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. The taxes, they're waiting and wondering and worrying if you're ever going to get any money back, and then waiting and wondering and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today, an expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert where you'll find every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All while you get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax full service, live full service. Real-time updates only available in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. There's no guarantee what UCLA is going to do in this Big Ten tournament. I have no idea. They are good enough to win it. They are sufficiently not motivated enough to risk everything to go for it and hang what Mick Cronin says he didn't say this, but what he implies, it's a meaningless banner. It's not hung up a Big Ten tournament banner. No. It's not like some mid-majors where, it's the dream to get to the NCAA tournament and get an upset. UCLA is looking for number 12. Not a 12th conference tournament banner, not of this, not of that. They're trying to get to number 12. And we've been stuck, unfortunately, for a long time. Wouldn't it be great in a long anniversary later that with the long lines of winning championships with a year that ends in the number 5, 95, you go back to all those teams that are honored on senior day, dating back to the 70s, the 60s, you mix in the mid-90s team. 2025 is a nice ring to it. Why not make it happen? It doesn't have to happen today for UCLA against Wisconsin, which we'll react to after the game. This is a little mini primer, which has gone longer than I thought. But hey, we will react and see what does it mean going forward. Does it completely help or hurt their NCAA tournament chances? No. Health, recovery, where they play, seeding. All those are the most important things. And a win against Wisconsin could help a small portion of that, but being healthy, even in a loss, that fuels them to be better next week, good. Now, if they come out sluggish and don't care, a couple of Mick Cronin berating comments might be a little what the doctor ordered heading into the NCAA tournament. But no, this is not the end-all be-all. A win, though, could move them a lot further in the NCAA tournament seeding, where they're stuck as a 6 because all the Big Ten teams are 4 seeds. So UCLA can't be a 5 seed. They won't be. You either got to get good enough to be a 4 seed and hope somebody drops off, or live as a 6 seed and you're stuck playing a 3 seed, whether it's Kentucky, whether it's Iowa State, whoever those 3 seeds might be, you might get stuck playing a really good team that's a national championship contender in day 2, or you might be playing a team that you're favored to beat in a competitive matchup in that second day to get to second weekend. That's all the little games that are going on right now. And normally it doesn't matter, but I think this year with the travel and the battling and how even things are and how much we wonder what this UCLA team can do, the better matchups, the further they can go, the more rest and recovery can lead to more success. And hopefully we'll be talking success after the UCLA-Wisconsin game. So get your hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.